Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. The first impeachment complaint against President Bongbong Marcos emerges. Only Duterte allies failed to file it at the House of Representatives. They vow to try again in the coming days.
And it's the final stretch of the campaign, and the two biggest alliances in the country make their final pitches. And there are, as expected, some surprises.
And still no new pope for the Catholic Church as black smoke billowed from the Sistine Chapel's chimney on the second day of voting of the conclave. We bring you more updates from the Vatican later, live.
Malakas po ang loob ko na magsabi, Alyansa all the way!
Yun ang culpable violation of the Constitution.
An impeachment case against President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. was supposed to have been filed today. But as it turns out, there was no one at the lower house to receive it. Duterte Youth Party List Chairperson Ronald Cardema was the lead complainant. But when he arrived at the lower house this afternoon, House Secretary General Reginald Velasco was not available to receive it. But this did not deter Cardema, who intends to file the complaint again next week. The impeachment case against President Marcos cited culpable violation of the Constitution and betrayal of public trust. That's for allowing the alleged surrender of a Filipino citizen, former President Rodrigo Duterte, to foreigners. Cardema said the former president should have been given the chance to be tried by a Philippine court. The complaint will be endorsed by Duterte Youth Party List Representative Drixie May Cardema.
Tayong mga buhay na Pilipino ang pinagbabasihan ng soberanya. Kaya nung sinurrender mo ang isang Pilipino sa mga dayuhan, nung araw na yon, March 11, sinurrender mo ang soberanya ng bansa. So yun ang culpable violation of the Constitution.
Campaign trail, winds changed as Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas wooed voters in Bulacan. That's after President Marcos was heard endorsing Congresswoman Camille Villar again, not just once, but thrice.
Meron po tayong mga tinatawag namin na the fighting women of Alyansa. Andyan po si Senator Cayetano, andyan po si Senator Binay, andyan po si Senator Villar, andyan po silang lahat. Natitiyak na may malakas na boses ang kababaihan sa Senado at maaasahan na sila ang magtatanggol ng karapatan ng kababaihan dito sa Pilipinas.
However, Villar was still absent in that rally. Recall that in Alyansa's previous sorties in Batangas and Dumanhog, Cebu, the president did not make even a single mention of Villar. This coincided with Malacanang's pronouncement that the Villar-owned firm, Prime Water, should be investigated for its service infractions. But despite those issues, the president appears confident that the whole Alyansa slate would be able to carry on his administration's brand of service. And among the projects supposedly getting a push from Alyansa senatorials are rice at 20 pesos per kilo, farm-to-market roads, and the north-south commuter railway system.
Malakas po ang loob ko na magsabi, para po mangyari, para po upang po magkakapayapaan dito sa Pilipinas, upang maging makatarungan ang Pilipinas, upang mag-unlad ang Pilipinas, huwag po kayo magdalawang isip pa pagdating po ng Lunes, pag-upo po ninyo, pagpirma po ninyo ng balota, Alyansa straight, Alyansa all the way.
And on the other side of the political fence, there's PDPLaban bringing its meeting de avance to Daliwasang Bonifacio in the city of Manila tonight. So far, no major activity is going on in that campaign yet, though since this afternoon, supporters have already started gathering in the area. Vice President Sara Duterte has confirmed her attendance, as well as members of the so-called Duterten, or the 10 senatorial candidates endorsed by former President Rodrigo Duterte. One candidate, though, is skipping the grand rally, and that is Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, who is in jail for qualified human trafficking.
Now, how are senatorial candidates faring in the last surveys before Monday's elections? Well, ACT-CIS Representative Erwin Tulfo regains the lead in the final senatorial survey by the social weather stations. Tulfo got 45% support in the poll conducted between May 2 and 6. Closely behind him is Senator Bongo at 43%, who has been the front-runner for the past 2 months. Most of those included in the probable winner's circle are part of the administration slate. Also in the Magic 12 are former Senate President Tito Soto, Senator Lito Lapid, broadcaster Ben Tulfo, and former Senator Ping Lacson. Likewise in the list are Makati Mayor Abby Binay, Senator Bato de la Rosa, Las Piñas Representative Camille Villar, and Senators Pia Cayetano, Bong Revilla, and Amy Marcos. The poll was commissioned by the Strat-based group.
And just 4 days before the Bilang Pilipino midterm elections, the Comelec has disqualified Pasig congressional candidate Christian Sia. Recall that in a campaign sortie last April, Sia was called out over his lewd remarks about single mothers and for body shaming a female staff member. The disqualification case against Sia was filed by Comelec's Task Force SAFE after he was issued a show cause order twice. Comelec Chairman George Garcia said despite being disqualified, Sia may still file a motion for reconsideration and his name will remain in Pasig City's ballot. In the event that Sia wins, the Comelec will suspend his proclamation until the final resolution of the case.
Meron pa siyang karapatan na mag-file ng motion for reconsideration. Hanggat walang pinal na desisyon, ang pangalan ay mananatili sa balota, ang tao ay maiboboto at maaari pong maproklama kung sakasakali kung walang pinal na desisyon laban po sa kanila.
Meanwhile, the poll body's Contra Bigay Committee has accepted the explanation of senatorial candidate Camille Villar on allegations of vote buying. The committee said in its decision that it found no sufficient evidence to pursue the candidate's disqualification. Villar was earlier seen in an event in Cavite where raffle and prize money were handed out. Villar explained that the event in question happened before the start of the campaign period. As of today, May 9, the Comelec has received 450 reports of alleged vote buying and abuse of state resources.
Let's now have a quick chat with Comelec spokesperson Rex Laudianco on these latest developments. Magandang gabi po sa inyo. Let's begin with our clarification on the disqualification of Christian Sia dahil siya po ay nasa balota pa.
Tama po. Magandang gabi po, Ma'am Ces, Ma'am Shawn, and Ma'am Pauline. Tama po kayo, nagkaroon na nga po ng ruling tungkol sa disqualification niya. Tama po, sinasabi ni Chairman Garcia, dahil nga po pwedeng mag-file ng motion for reconsideration. This is a division ruling which has yet to attain the status of being final and executory po. At pagka ganun po, pag nag-appeal po siya, ng motion for reconsideration sa iba, yung po ang purpose po niyan, mananatili po siya bilang kandidato, maaari po siyang matatanggap ng boto. But then again, ang sinasabi nga po ni Chairman Garcia, nasa kapangyarihan din po ng Commission on Elections na mag-issue ng suspension of proclamation just in case po siya ang makakuha ng pinakamaraming boto o siya po ang nanalo sa halalan.
Pero sa ngayon po, wala siyang kasagutan dun sa inyong ruling.
Meron naman pong sapat na panahon pa po para makapag-file siya. Kailangan po within 5 days po ay makapag-apila siya, makapag-file siya ng motion for reconsideration.
Pwede ba pa-confirm lang natin, Attorney Rex, kung sure na kung nanalo nga itong si Attorney Sia ay talagang gugulong na yung suspension order?
Ganito po. Ang paglalabas po kasi ng suspension of proclamation ay ginagawa po ng Comelec bago pa po maghalalan. Ang purpose po kasi nito ay ma-ensure na yung kaso po ay mananatili within the jurisdiction of the Commission on Elections. Ganito po kasi. Ang jurisdiction po ng Comelec ay ng proclamation. Kapag ang isang tao po ay na-proclaim, ay pwede na siya mag-oath ng office pag dumating ang tamang panahon makapag-a-assume. Sa pagitan po nito, yung pong congressman, yung pong mga senador, kung sakali pong magkakaroon ng disqualification case, mapupunta na po ang jurisdiction sa House or Senate Electoral Tribunal at mawawala na po sa Comelec. Dahil nga po nailagak ang isang petition for disqualification sa kanya bago maghalalan, nagkaroon ng ruling bago maghalalan, maari po talaga mag-issue ng suspension of proclamation nang manatili po sa Comelec ang pagdedesisyon dito.
Is it this only being done for this 2025 midterm election?
Naku, hindi po, ma'am. Kung maalala niyo po, kahit nung barangay and SK elections, to almost 200 cases po ang na-file, 150 plus suspension of proclamation orders were issued. Kaya po yung mga hindi kwalipikado, yung mga may kinakaharap na kaso, yung mga may petition for disqualification na nakakuha ng pinakamaraming boto, hindi po sila naiproklama at nagtuloy-tuloy po ang kaso. In fact, hanggang ngayon po, yung mga on appeal ay lumalabas po unti-unti ang mga decision po Comelec sa kaso nila.
Attorney Rex, doon naman po sa alleged vote buying case ni senatorial candidate Camille Villar, ano po ba yung mga factor na nakita ng Comelec sa pag-junk ng kasong yan?
Tama po. Lumalabas po kasi na yung video at yung activity po were taken sometime in February 9. Kung matatandaan po natin, ang campaign period po for national positions like senators and party list ay magsisimula ng February 11. At ayon sa Section 15 po ng RA 9359, sabi ng Supreme Court sa Piñera versus Comelec, magiging kandidato lang ang isang taong nag-file ng CO sa unang araw ng campaign period. So nung panahon po na nagkaroon ng activity, nagkabigayan ng kung ano man, hindi pa po maituturing na kandidato si Congresswoman Camille Villar, hindi pa siya kandidato for senator. At dahil doon, hindi po siya pwedeng makasuhan ng vote buying sa act na yan. Dahil po, ang unang-unang element po ng vote buying under Section 261A ng Omnibus Election Code, kailangang may kandidato o merong mga tao na para sa kandidato na yan ay namigay ng anumang bagay na may halaga, pera, gift, pangako o kaya po prangkisa, empleo na ang purpose ay makakuha ng boto para sa kandidato na yan o huwag iboto ang isang particular na kandidato.
Pero Attorney Rex, there have been similar, there are about 450 other complaints. Parang nauna naman tong kaso ni Camille Villar na inyong maasikaso?
Ay hindi po, isa po sa si Congresswoman Camille Villar sa mga kauna-unahang nakatanggap ng show cause orders. In fact, isa po siya sa mga unang nagsumite ng kanyang answer sa FTO. Kaya nga po dahil sa isa sa mga nauna, agad po na-resolve yung kaso niya. In fact, nung nilabas natin yung mga bagay na ito, agad-agad po meron mga nakapansin at nakakita na yung event talaga ay naganap ng February 9. So in fact po, ang ating show cause orders ay ginagawa in aid of a fact-finding investigation. And facts will show, based upon the investigation, na February 9 ito, hindi pa siya kandidato and therefore hindi pa maituturing na vote buying ang naganap po na pamimigay ng kung ano mang bagay.
So yung ibang 450 cases, paano po ang decision doon? Have they also been dismissed or junked?
No, hindi po. Tuloy-tuloy po yung iba dahil ngayon po yung mga natatanggap na answer sa show cause orders ay ina-evaluate po ng Committee on Contrabigay. Kita niyo po ang proseso. Bago po mag-issue ang Committee on Contrabigay ng kanilang show cause order, ang unang-unang ginagawa po dyan, lalo na kung galing sa social media ang ebidensya, whether video yan or picture, ay pinapa-authenticate na hindi produkto ng AI or deepfake. At pagka na-confirm lamang po na authentic yung video, at saka lang po nagpapadala ng show cause order, giving due process to the respondent. Pag sumagot po sila, ina-evaluate yan based on the sagot, based on the existing evidence at hand. At kung kinakailangan pa po, nagpapa-investiga pa ang Committee on Contrabigay. Saka lamang po sila nagre-recommend whether for filing yan ng information or for filing ng petition for disqualification or for the dismissal of the complaint po.
All right, thank you. Comelec spokesperson, Attorney Rex Laudianco.
Maraming salamat.
Right, we're going to take a quick break, but coming up next, a second black smoke emerges from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel, which means no Pope yet. But there will be another vote in a couple of hours. We have that story and more when the Big Story returns. Keep it here.
We're back with developments from the Vatican on day 2 of the conclave. The first smoke of the day billowed from the Sistine Chapel chimney at 5:53 p.m. Philippine time, and it's still black, which means still no new pope.
And now that we're waiting for the next voting for the day, and as we speak, more and more pilgrims are flocking to St. Peter's Square.
And all these devotees only have one question on their minds. How much longer until they see the next leader of the Catholic Church? And who might it be? So at this point, let's bring in News 5 correspondent Mon Gualvez. Mon is still there over at the Vatican monitoring things for us. What's the latest, Mon?
Hi ladies, currently talagang patuloy pa rin na dumarating yung mga pilgrims, mga Catholics dito sa paligid ng St. Peter's Square sa Vatican to witness personally if sino yung darating na magiging bagong Santo Papa na leader ng simbahang Katolika. And most of them has their own bets.
Occasional rains poured down on the devotees here at St. Peter's Square on the first day of the conclave. But they remain undaunted, making their way through thousands others who wanted to see for themselves who the next leader of the Catholic Church will be. Seagulls perching on the Sistine Chapel's roof near the chimney were a spectacle during the smoke watch. However, after more than 3 hours of waiting, black smoke billowed out of the chimney, indicating no cardinal got 2/3 votes from the college to become the next pope. Some onlookers couldn't hide their dismay at the result.
A little disappointed, I guess. But I couldn't tell if it was black or white, to be honest, because of how dark it is, but yeah.
I think that it is kind of disappointing because we waited, what's been, since 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
and they didn't decide, so waiting a long time is kind of disappointing to see the black smoke.
Others, though, remained hopeful and said they would return the following day, although they noted that it has indeed been a long wait.
Oh, it was long. It was a long wait. I think we got here at 5:45, and then I think we got to see the smoke at 9 p.m. So yeah.
On the second day of the conclave, more Catholics gathered here in the Vatican. Some even carried their country's flags. They admit they're hoping the next pope would be their compatriot.
We're looking forward na sana si Cardinal Tagle yung makuha nila. Alam naman natin yung mga Pinoy, very religious tayo, and I think is nasa buhay natin yung mga aral ng simbahan.
Even members of the international media had their own bets.
And currently, ladies, the cardinal electors are now at the Casa Santa Marta, taking their lunch and some few rest before they started another round of voting this 4 o'clock in the afternoon Vatican time. And then malalaman natin around 5:30 in the afternoon dito pa rin sa Vatican, oras na yan, kung magkakaroon ba ng white smoke at that time. Pero kung walang smoke at all na lalabas around 5:30 in the afternoon dito sa Vatican, alas 7 na yan ng gabi, umpisang aabangan ng mga tao dito, which is 1 a.m. in the Philippines. At doon pagsasabayin na yung dalawang botohan na ginawa ng afternoon session.
So linawin lang natin, Mon, because there's a bit of confusion. So with that smoke, that billow, that black smoke that came out from the Sistine Chapel's chimney, did that signify na 2 rounds of vote na ang nagawa nila kanina? Or isa lang?
Tama, tama. So there will be 4 rounds of voting or 4 voting per se, no? Yun yung 4 na schedule. Sa unang pagboto nila sa isang araw at wala pang naging resulta, ibig sabihin wala pang nakakuha ng 2/3 of votes, itatabi muna yung mga balotang yon at immediately they will do the voting again. And so yung lalabas na resulta naman sa pangalawang pagboto nila sa naturang araw, kung ito ay black, pagsasamahin na nila yung mga ballots into one at yun yung pauusukin nila dito sa chimney ng Sistine Chapel. So again, 4 rounds of voting pero twice lang makakakita ng usok dito sa chimney ng Sistine Chapel.
Ang tanong tuloy mo, no, kasi maraming nagulat na 2 times lang pala yung usok kasi na-expect natin every round may pausok pero hindi pala every session, morning and afternoon. So what if kunwari magyari siya, theoretically speaking, on the 3rd round or yung first round ng afternoon session, hahantayin pa rin ba nila matapos yung pang 4th no session or biglaan na lang bang makikita natin na may usok nang lalabas doon sa chimney?
Siyempre,
Yes,
hindi, no?
kapag nangyari na 5:30 p.m., may usok na lumabas, ang tanging usok na lalabas lang dyan ay white. nangyari ito during Pope Benedict, no? So on the 4th ballot, doon siya na-elect as the 265th Pope of the Catholic Church, no? So ito yung inaabangan kung may lalabas bang usok around 5:30 in the afternoon o wala. Kapag wala, it means walang nakakuha na naman ng 2/3 of votes at aabangan na lang ng gabi dito sa Vatican para sa 5th round ng pagbotohan nila dito sa conclave na nagaganap.
But there's so many people, talagang dinagsa ang square para sa mga nag-aabang sa usok.
Yes, yes. Actually, ang sinasabi nila dito, talagang in-expect nila na this second day, mas dadami pa, no? Although yung nakikita nyo sa akin likuran kasi, bakit parang kaunti na? Dahil nga medyo mahaba pa yung oras, no? Bago mag 5:30 dito. It's just 2 o'clock in the afternoon here, so meron pang 3 hours para sila ay mag-ikot, mamasyal, pero wala pa rin kasi kami nakikita ng mga nagka-camp out so far. Pero bigla nila dumadami yung tao kapag yun yung estimate time ng paglabas ng smoke, napupuno na yan. Napupuno na to ng mga tao, lalo na doon sa may pinaka St. Peter's Square. Ito kasi yung pinaka-kalye bago dyan sa St. Peter's Basilica. So, puno lahat yan. Kaya nga yung mga nakakalat na mga widescreen, ito na lamang yung pinaka nagiging sisilbi nilang mata para makita yung Sistine Chapel's chimney, kung anong usok yung ilalabas niyan. Pero may iba sinasabi, mas marami daw nung time na na-elect si Pope Francis. Although yun nga, in-anticipate ng karamihan na just 2 to 3 days tatagal itong conclave. Kaya talagang they're expecting more people to come. At kaya din naman na mas marami din yung mga security forces checking the area. Kasi talaga bawat entry points, may mga nag-i-inspeksyon ng mga bags. So, hindi pwedeng dadaan at lulusot. Maraming mga harang dito papasok sa mismong Vatican or sa mismong mismong St. Peter's Square, rather.
Well, it's only the second day and sana pala rin kayo dyan. Thank you so much. That was News 5 correspondent Mon Gualvez.
Right, time to pause for another very quick break. But when we return, we will be speaking to a Filipino designer who believes that fashion should not only be aesthetic, but ethical. We find out what that means exactly when the big story returns. Keep it here.
The big story is back, and we're taking a step back from regular news to turn our attention to another sector of society, the world of fashion, which is constantly changing with trends appearing left and right. Is there a way that fashion could be more sustainable? What with estimates of the global fashion industry contributing from 4 to 10% of harmful carbon emissions. Here we feature sustainable initiatives that contribute to a greener future. Welcome to Sustainability. Not all fashion is fleeting, and tonight we meet a Filipino designer that turns fashion into storytelling by weaving emotion and sustainability into every piece. We have with us Jaggy Glino, visionary behind Jaggy, Maison Glino, and Jaggy Bride. Welcome to the big story,
Hi,
Jaggy.
good evening, everyone. Yeah.
Let's start by telling us how you became a finalist of Sustasia,
Yeah.
which was a sustainability competition in Shanghai.
Yeah. So actually, they saw my pieces in the Vogue threads in Milan, or no, in Paris.
In Paris.
Yeah. So they got quite interested in how I like weave and embroider culture into my pieces, and they were quite excited to like bring someone who does like Filipino storytelling into clothes. So I'm not necessarily a sustainable brand in the beginning, but
Now you are?
yeah, I'm
Starting
trying.
to.
Yeah, because
Tell us
sustainability
about your
is.
outfit first.
Oh, yeah.
Sige.
Oh, this is like an old parang mantel. So it's really more of like me trying to like look at like mundane or probably things that you're not supposed
Everyday
to.
things.
Yeah, everyday things. Yeah, or something that is neglected. Because the amount of work. Yes, some of them are vintage, so I look at them and see the potential of the materials. And
Beautiful, right?
This-
Would you wear that?
I would totally wear it. I love embroidery. I love the
yeah,
cross
totally. Because like sayang the work eh. Let's put into
Okay,
it.
going back to, so they spotted you and you were 8?
Yeah, there were 8 finalists from Asia, so different countries, including Japan, China, of course, Vietnam, India, and yeah. So there were 8 of us who were finalists. So we went to Shanghai for the competition.
And you needed to use materials that were sustainable, not harmful to the environment. What was the, what were the instructions?
Oh, we went first time in Shanghai, and we got to meet a lot of like innovative material providers. So next generation material providers. So they looked for next generation material providers, and then they got us to talk to them. So it's really more of like meeting these material providers
Like
that are
what,
sustainable.
for example?
There were like spider silks. So there were like recycled nylons from like ghost fish nets, which I used.
Wow,
so
that's
they harvest
beautiful.
ghost fish nets in the sea, and then they turn it into recycled nylon or re-nylon as they call it. Yeah.
So the exposure, I mean, if you didn't win first, sino bang nanalo?
China.
China, syempre. But we have to hand it to China. I mean,
Yeah, for the
okay,
initiative.
they are also a source of a lot of the fast fashion,
Yes.
but they had this initiative.
Yeah, we have to give credit to the initiative. So I think it's one step. I think the challenge really is to make sure that it's a very consistent initiative, though. Yeah. But yeah, so the good thing about it is we got to meet all the suppliers. So not all of them are from China. There are like providers of like olive waste leather from Milan and Paris that we got to meet. So it's really more of like
The
me.
exposure you got.
Yeah, the exposure, and it's really, it feels like me in a candy shop, like a kid in a candy shop. Because like, dati akala mo sustainability and reusing materials are just like using scraps eh. But there are a lot of like potential, and there are a lot of manufacturers and innovators, scientists who does really good job in making sure that there are like different kinds of materials that you can really choose from.
When you saw those new materials that are available that are more sustainable than the usual, how much inspiration did you get? Kumbaga, natamaan ka ba na, wow, may life-changing moment ba?
A lot. There was a time na I wish I could grab everything and like bring them home. But we're allowed to choose just 1 or 2 or 3 materials because it has to be a very cohesive look. But for sure, there are so many potentials. When you're like in this part of the world and you don't get to talk to the suppliers, akala mo you're limited to certain things eh. But it's really like eye-opening na it's not just like the greenwashing vegan leather. There's
so much.
legit and like certified materials that are out there that you can really use. So
what can the industry do here to expose designers like you? Mabuti ka, naging finalist you
Yes.
saw. Imagine if for your other colleagues who are not who weren't exposed to this material.
I think it's very important that I'm exposed to these international events, and I got to talk to the business of fashion also. It's really me trying to connect with different people and connect with suppliers. That way, I think I'm bringing the connection or knowledge somehow so that it will be more accessible to my fellow
Right.
designers.
And also so they can export to the Philippines, and there's
Yes.
economies of scale at least.
Yes, and one
Di
thing
mo
is...
naman dinadamot ito.
Ay, hindi naman. I mean, that should not be the case. Actually, ang pinakamagandang nangyari is they got aware of what Filipino fashion is and what we can bring to the global stage. Because like,
So what nga is Philippine fashion and what can we bring to the global stage?
Oh, well,
Maybe we throw the question back at you.
Yes, okay.
You know, Jaggy spoke recently at the Business of Fashion Forum in
Yeah.
Dubai. Yeah, I mean, you're already going international, ha, Jaggy?
Yes, I'm very lucky to get the privilege and the opportunity, you know. So, like, in the business of fashion, we've talked about global north and global south. So we're not a part of like Paris, London, Milan, or the global north or the big fashion capitals. But the industry is seeing a shift towards the global south because of the culture, because it's less rehashed, it's not diluted in terms of ideas, and there's really more
It's fresh,
craft.
more fresh, I
Yeah,
suppose.
more craft, more innovation, and there's more culture embedded into what we do. And I think, going back to your question, it's really more of me trying to put out Filipino culture, Filipino artisanship, Filipino craftsmanship, Filipino fabrics, because I've championed Filipino fabrics together with
You
next
live
generation.
in General Santos, hindi ba?
Yes, I go back and forth Davao and Jensan, yeah. So I live next to Coronadal, which is like South Cotabato, where Tinalak is.
So actually, you use a lot of the artisans' work. These are artists, actually.
Yes, and there's really premium to time, amount of like craftsmanship that's like passed on from generation to generation that which we should really look at too. Because sometimes we feel like local is more of like baduy, or that it's for pasalubong or pang linggo ng wika,
Or
right?
awards night.
Yeah,
Sauna,
but
ganyan.
we should really we should really have a shift of mindset and reframe that
That's
narrative.
Filipiniana. I would say that's Filipiniana. Can you open your your jacket?
Oh, this is from another friend, but it's really more of like lace work and like vintage.
But it also looks like a barong.
Yes.
Was it also like a mantel?
Is it
Yeah,
upcycled as well? Yeah.
Kasi naalala ko yan yung mga mantel eh. Or
Yes.
even bed
Ilabas na
cover.
natin and then can we send to Jaggy? Biglang
Ganda ng white eyelet look,
Yeah,
but
'cause-
it's so Filipino.
Yeah, because my past collection was really inspired by me living in a karinderya with my parents, because I grew up in a karinderya. So yeah, so I did a collection with like what do you call this?
Basket.
Thermos and even
yung
caldero.
patong-patong na pambaon
Yes.
na plastic.
Yes, everything. Yeah, mantel.
So
also.
maski yung mga mantel ng sa karinderya, di ba?
Yes, we did a print of like a mantel and even the kumot. Now we
Right
used
now,
to see.
we are showing some photos here.
Ah,
and
there?
that print is
Yes.
quite, right?
That
Very
one,
Filipino.
that iconic
Stripes with flowers, with pink
Yes.
flowers.
Yeah.
Ang
And you
gaganda,
turned it into
Jaggy.
beautiful designs,
you.
Jaggy, right?
Yeah.
But I also wanted to ask, just going back to sustainability, because we do live in a time where consumerism and overconsumption is quite a thing, especially with the younger generations, right? Hoarding, buying online. I mean, how can we change that behavior?
I think we need to see the value in craftsmanship and the amount of time we put into these works. It's actually very surprising that the young generation, as much as they consume, as if I'm not part of it, no? So as much as they consume like fast fashion, there's really a shift into like, I think it's really the love for contrast. Na they feel like being different or having an artisanal piece is somehow against the trend, and most people would like to go against the grain, right? So I think they see the value already of like one-off pieces or yung mga bagay or damit na hindi nila nakikita sa iba. Because like there's always a risk of like you going into a mall and then like seeing another person wear what you're wearing, right? So I think if you want to have your own voice or identity, I think they appreciate that already. So they're willing to spend for that.
So how would you define now your look, your trajectory? Because you mentioned that you don't want to be boxed in as a sustainable designer.
Yeah. So I think I would like to speak about sustainability and my fear per se of not being profitable as a brand. Because yun yung takot ko when they told me na like, let's do sustainability and like, can we ingrain it into your brand? Kasi akala ko hindi kikita eh. But there's always a way of doing it that makes it sustainable and
Profitable.
and profitable as well. So so going back to your question, it's really more of like seeing the potential into the business and like making sure na you reframe how you do things. I mean, sustainability is not the most convenient way of doing things. But I think, but once you get the hand of it, and
You're committed to it.
you're
I
committed
suppose.
to it.
Yeah.
It's really more of, yeah.
Lastly, what would you advise the three of us to be able to consume consciously and not make you go out of business at the same time?
Yeah. Ang
Diba
hirap
parang
na.
contradiction,
Yeah,
no?
it is.
I think you have to like look at your wardrobe and look at what pieces you'd be able to like wear and rewear or even pass on to someone, because you should also see the premium in handwork and like there's luxury in like the amount of time that goes into how it is made. And of course you have also to be very selective and choose brands that are very conscious about making sure that they tell honestly how the garments are being made. Because, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much,
Thank
Jaggy.
you, yes.
Thank you for coming. So that was Jaggy Glino, fashion designer and creative director.
Okay, so for our big picture for tonight, okay, an event that happened before 133 cardinals entered the Sistine Chapel yesterday on day one of the conclave. Advocates for women's ordination released pink smoke from a hill near the Vatican. Their plea is to smoke out sexism and send a distress signal to change its male-only stance as the church remains defiant in allowing women's ordination. The role of women in the global Catholic Church has long been contested. Although the late Pope Francis included women to vote in the Synod 2 years ago, they still cannot be ordained to the priesthood or deaconate.
Whoa, pink smoke looks good.
It looks good. It's very cute. And in the meantime, we still wait for more black or white smoke tonight. But for this evening, Thursday evening, that's it for the big story.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Are you still on vigil, Pawi?
I am.
Okay, catch Pawi at 1 a.m. later. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.